Once again, it's because of a team effort, not because there's a bunch of individuals. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Anytime I get a chance to talk about public education and what charter schools are all about, I love the opportunity. And I'll stop here and take some questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
I think early on you mentioned something that I got the impression that maybe charter schools were getting 30% less funding, whether it's ADA, whatever that stands for. But what I'm wondering is, to attract those bright, passionate young teachers, what kind of pay structure do you have for them compared with the public schools?
Okay, real quick. ADA stands for Average Daily Attendance. You only get paid from the state for the students that actually show up in the seat. You could have 1,000 students in your school, but if only 500 of them show up on a daily basis, that's all you're going to get paid for. So average daily attendance, so we're funded that way. Okay, the 30% less comes because we have to pay for our facilities out of that. So, and we don't get the state funding is actually for charter schools. It's based on a statewide average, not just what your local schools are getting. For instance, Escondido Union High School District may get $9,000 to $10,000 a student, but because it's based on a statewide average, we're only getting about $6,400 a student. And then your question about attracting the top quality, the thing you got to understand about the charter school movement is you've got to want to be a part of that. Because I will tell you, and I tell every single person we hire from the day we started, it's never going to be like the regular public school system. You're not going to be paid at the same rate. You're going to probably have to work harder. But you've got to believe in what we're doing, and you've got to be there for the right reason. A lot of people go into teaching because of the paycheck. But we attract, we're not as competitive. Maybe our starting salaries are pretty competitive as a local school districts as we have to be. But I'll be honest with you, our teachers don't make as much as their regulars that they do at school. But what they get in return for that is we have smaller class sizes, so they don't have as many students. To give you an example of that, in Escondido Union High School District, the average class size is 34 to 1. That's 34 students for every teacher. Ours is averaging right around 20 to 21. And again, that's what attracts some of the people. And I'm not saying class size is always the answer, because it isn't. Because in all honesty, we have spent billions and billions and billions of dollars on Title I, lowering class sizes and doing all these extra things. It has not made one bit of difference over the last 20 years we've been spending billions. And even though they don't see the results, we keep throwing the same amount of money at it. Which doesn't even make sense, but we keep doing it. Yes, sir.
What years were you at Escondido High School as a coach or as a student?
19. Well, I was there as a student from 58 to 61, graduated in 1961. And then I was there as a teacher. I started in 1996. No, I'm sorry, 1961. No, 1966.
The year we were married.
The year we were married, 1966, I started there as a teacher.
I was a teacher on that campus when you were there.
Really?
Oh,
That's a small world. What were you teaching?
I taught speech.
All right. When we had speech teachers then, most schools
Just what, me?
Yeah, well, that's a small world.
If you remember, Mark Weiland was his debate student.
Yep.
So he was the debate coach.
Well, you did good. Look what you did for Mark. And he got started by being on the school board. That's how he got his start.
Elementary school board.
Elementary school board, yes. Yes, ma'am.
What's your take on, or I guess maybe if you explain the difference between something like Classical Academy?
Different, a little bit different philosophy. They're more homeschool based, where they allow you to pick the curriculum, and then you spend a little more. They have different programs. They have a seat time program where you can come in 4 days a week and have a teacher there with you, or they'll give you the curriculum and then you can teach them at home. And then you come in once in a while. They have a teacher that goes around and meets with you and helps you through that. So theirs is a little more home based.
So
we do have our K-8 is a seat time program.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Our kindergarten is a full day kindergarten.
Full day every day.
Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say, your facilities are much better. The programs that are offered, when you think about the art, the applied technology, and all of the programs that are offered, and I will say, if you can't get into charter, then that's second.
No, Classical Academy meets a need.
But you
That's
want
the bottom
charter
line.
first. If you get in charter.
That's my wife, so she's the advertisement.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. I know.
Yes. And I know it's getting late, I don't want to take more time, but I do.
You alluded to basically firing public schools, not charter schools, but the poor performers. Can you talk a little bit about the status of this trigger phenomena in California?
Yeah, just what happens in the state of California now, because of their budget situations, what they do, they actually defer our money. In other words, we have a budget. By law, as schools, we have to have a budget by June 30th of every year. The state, even though it was constitutionally they're supposed to, they don't always have a budget when they're supposed to. But what's happened because of our state budget deficits, what they do is they say, okay, you're going to get $2 million this year. But what we're going to do is we're going to defer. We now have 8 different deferrals where they don't send you any money at all. And so what they've done is, and then when we get to the end of the year, they've actually deferred your money for this school year, the 11-12 school year. They deferred 3 months of that into the next school year. So we don't even see that money until September or October of next year. So the deferrals have really hurt the charter schools too, because that means you have to have enough reserves to pay all your bills until that money finally comes in from the state. And then what they've done just recently, because of the budget, they just had this triggered. And what that means is that if a certain amount of money didn't come into the state hoppers, that the state could then say, okay, we're going to cut you even more.
Well, I was talking about the ability of the local people to basically shut down a public school because of not performing.
The charter school movement, if they're in program for improvement for more than 2 years, technically they could be taken over and become a charter school. It's happened in San Diego, in their school district, but it hasn't happened in our local district yet. Even though we have 25, I think it is, 25 elementary schools in Escondido, 18 of them are in program improvement. None of them have been closed down yet. One more question, though. And I want to thank Steve Sarvell for lining me up to come. I appreciate that, Steve. Yes?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your leadership in this. What did it cost you personally to start this? And what opposition did you attract by starting this charter school? And is that same problem now when you want to start a new charter school?
The problem is worse now. If you're trying to, as you're finding out, if you're trying to start a charter school today, I mean, it's really, really hard. I was very fortunate. Like I said, I was involved politically. I knew our school board members. I helped some of them get elected. And so they were all in favor of, and we have a great working relationship. We're one of the few charter schools that still has a great working relationship, not only with our districts, but also with our city council. And again, you have to, let's face it, education is politics. I hate to say it, but it is. It's political. And so you better know that going into it. I was very fortunate. We got ours within, I mean, we probably had the fastest charter approved and ready to go in 3 months. Today, it'll take you years to get through. So it's really changed because they're really trying to, there's a new bill right now that passed the Senate Education Committee that's going on to the Assembly that now will allow districts, if they can prove that it's a financial burden to them, they don't have to approve the charter school. Well, think about that. What district is, well, I lose one student. Oh, that's a financial burden. I've just lost that money. But it's not about the money. The money should follow the student because that's what we, the taxpayers, give it for. I don't care where he's at. It should follow the student. But they look at it, it's our money. It's the union's money, and we don't want to lose that. So if that passes, I'm hoping the governor will veto that. He is somewhat of a charter school supporter because he did start his own charter school up in Oakland and ran it for years. And so he's somewhat, but at the pressure from the unions, there's a lot of money behind there. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. He's actually got some great proposals. If his initiative passes in November, it actually helps charter schools. But again, that means people are going to have to vote to raise their taxes. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that all washes.
My quick question had to do with that bill that's up or pending is what can everyone here do? Who can they call and what do they need to say to help shoot that down?
Call the governor's office or their legislature, the assembly or their senator, and let them know how you feel about it. Because they listen. They really do. I mean, the charter school movement has been able to actually stave off some bills because every single year there's bill after bill trying to shut down the charter schools.
What's that bill called?
The bill that you're referring to is, I think it's AB 11. 72, I do believe.
The one that has where the adverse financial impact, which means a student moves from here to here.
Right.
It's an adverse
I think it's
impact.
AB 1172, if I remember correctly. Again, thank you. I'll stick around. If you have any other questions, I'll stick around and answer them, because I know it's growing late and we want you to get going.
Tell them about the statues at the school. And
Yes, if you're ever in Escondido,
Yes.
one of the things you'll see, you drive by our school, and the first thing you'll see 5 bronze statues of teenagers out there pledging the flag. And that was one of our grandparents that actually did those statues. It took eight months of her own time to form those. It's really a neat look. You can't miss it driving by our school. Then you walk through our campus by our library, and there's a statue of Lincoln working on his second inaugural address. We really emphasize Lincoln and what he stood for, his character, and what he did to hold this country together. Then you go over by our American Spirit Theater, 400-seat theater, and there in front of that American Spirit Theater is the only bronze statues anywhere in the world of that famous painting, The American Spirit. You know, the fife, the drum.
Spirit of 76.
Spirit of 76, that famous painting. We have a bronze statue of that also in front of our American Spirit Theater. So we invite you to come by, check us out. Again, I'm not trying to say here that we have all the answers, but we're going to keep working on making sure that we do a great job of educating kids. So thank you again for your time.
Don't go quite yet, please, unless of course you want to. But I've been asked to ask you. We had a pretty good turnout tonight, and I think people are starting to ask other people to come to these meetings because they're really quite informative. And I thought tonight's was excellent. I was really given high grades. Thank you very much. Somebody asked, what topics would you like to hear more about? Because we have a council, and we meet every week, and we go over what we think might interest you. And it will get you excited so that you bring other people to the meetings. Because what we want to do is educate people and open their eyes as to what's going on. So I'll open it up. What would you like to hear more about? Yes, sir.
Well, I think you can invite, if you haven't already, Carl DeMille.
What about him?
Carl DeMille, mayor.
Yeah.
Because we just went to a coffee that he had. This guy is bright, a lot of creative ideas, smart man,
Okay. Carl
and
DeMille.
incredible individual. And
Yeah.
he's been campaigning for 3 years, so
Right.
he's...
Carl DeMille has been here. It's been a while. And I think probably a return visit would be
It's a
good.
little more relevant now since the election's
Yeah.
coming up.
You got to be a little bit careful about the election.